Good morning and welcome to Cheche, the show where opinion counts, live on Citizen TV. I'm your host, Udwaka Mimo. One of the interesting races of the next general election will be the gubernatorial one. Like candidates for the presidency, candidates for the 47 available posts of governors must choose their running mates or deputies. Those elections will be much more difficult this time around because a number of governors and their deputies have fallen out spectacularly. In fact, some deputies will be running against their bosses next year. So why should we care? Well, if a team at the top cannot work together, how can we be sure that they're working for their people? So today's guests are a governor, Dr. Alfred Mutua of Machakos, and a deputy governor, Jonathan Mweke of Nairobi. He is a past organizing secretary of the Deputy Governors Forum. We also have our panelists, Mutegi Njau and Charles Odhiambo, both of Royal Media Services. Good morning and welcome to Cheche. I'll start with you, Dr. Mutua. I'll defer to seniority. What's your view of the relationship between governors and their deputies?
I think currently the relationship between, I think, all the governors, most of the governors, with their deputies is frosty, to say the least. I think it's because of the misunderstanding of the constitution and misunderstanding of the role of a deputy versus the role of a governor. You know, people always laugh about the presidency and vice presidency in the United States, where they say that the president of the US rules and the deputy or the vice president just waits to be told what to do. If you look at our constitution that copies what we have in the United States, you find that there is not much that is given to the deputy governor. In actual fact, the role of the deputy governor is to deputize the governor. Now, what happened is that many deputy governors did not understand their role. They came in thinking that they are equal to the governor, without knowing that the constitution and the law gives the governor close to 98% of the power and leaves a small 2% to the deputy governor. That is the law. So the smart deputy governors, I think like my friend here, Mweke, was able to proxy himself and be able to gain more power by working with the governor, by associating with the governor and being able to balance things properly so that now they work at hand. Others were not able to see the reality, and they felt like they needed to be in charge. They needed to be consulted for this and that. They needed to, to aspire. And then also I think the aspect of greed came in, because they realized that, the position with power is the governor position. And now, mostly because what happened in most cases, nobody knew who the deputy governor is. Most of the deputy governors were not known. So all of a sudden, in the limelight, most of them are new into politics in terms of being elected. So you've got a deputy governor who everybody knew, who had established themselves, who campaigned, who was known in the county, who chose a deputy governor all of a sudden, who now got a big car, sitting back left or secretary. The power thing came into place. Okay. And so, small disagreements started happening.
Before we go to Mr. Mweke, whom you've just complimented for being smart, you say, how would you describe the relationship between yourself and your own deputy?
It's not a working relationship. It's very unfortunate, because when you work together as a team, you're able to achieve more. But you see, you cannot work with somebody who is at odds with your ideology, is at odds with your integrity, is at odds with what you want your people to have. Okay,
so we'll be careful, because he's not here to defend himself, and I'm sure he would have plenty to say about his relationship with you. Mr. Mweke, I'll come to you, because from your perspective as a deputy, you've just been called a smart deputy governor. What do you think the relationship should be?
Well, I think the relationship should be a working relationship, because if you look at how we got elected, the governors picked their running mates. Some were coalitions, others were picked on various different strengths. So maybe there was constituency balances, party balances, tribal balances, and so on and so forth. Sometimes there was, in some places it was a gender balance, and the voters went and voted a team. So the people actually expect you to work as a team. So it's up to the governor and the deputy governor to sit down and agree on how they are going to work for the greater good of the people. And I think what's most important is not the power, like the governor Mutua said. It's not the ego, it's not the selfishness or the greed. The key thing here is what is right. And what is right is to be able to work together to deliver the services, build infrastructure for the people. Now, I disagree with the governor of Machakos that most deputy governors are at loggerheads with their governors. Actually, it's the other way around. We sit in the Deputy Governors Forum, and we can count on our two hands out of the 47 counties which governors don't work with their deputies. So the real truth is more than 70% of them have very good working relationships with their governors.
Out of the 47, I think we have about 11 or so where we know that publicly they're not getting on well. But it's possible that, as the governor says, that there are others who are, being a bit more discreet about the poor working relationships. Yeah.
You have to define what a poor relationship is, working relationship is. Do people have issues? Absolutely, yeah? And everybody has issues everywhere, because you can't have two people who think alike. The key thing here is what your vision is. Are you on the same page in what you want to do for the people that you're representing? And the ones that have issues, sit down, take care of their issues. If it's a working issue, take care of their issues. They consult. If they can't agree, they bring in a third party whom both people respect to solve those issues. Because the thing here is, they look at the bigger picture. What are we doing for our people? Now, where the real problem comes in is when you bring a personal touch into it between your deputy governor and your governor, and the relationship becomes personal. You begin to withdraw vehicles, you begin to withdraw healthcare, you begin to ban offices.
And which we've heard some deputy governors go through.
And that happens.
So from your perspective as a deputy governor, Governor Mutua has told us that the relationship is compromised by greed, access to power, visibility. From where you sit, where do you think that the problems occur between deputy governors and governors?
I think the main problem here is abuse of power by the governors who do that, and it's a very dangerous thing, because if you go and deny health insurance to your deputy governor, it's no longer about people, it's no longer about issues, now it's personal. Here what you're saying is, listen, you're a fellow human being and I don't care if you die. And that's why it becomes really personal. And those relationships are very dangerous, because like I said, these people came from different constituencies. So now you're creating a problem that you might never be able to solve in your lifetime, where you're from one constituency in the county, you've been treated so badly from a governor who's from a different constituency. Those two constituencies' peoples, while they're in the same county, start hating each other, start saying your person is being unfair to my person, and you can begin to create a problem like Southern Sudan, where people now are fighting, and you can never solve it.
I think if you may interrupt, my apologies. I think Deputy Governor Mweke is blowing up this situation to make it look like it's dire than it is. Yes, it's a problem, but it's comparing it to Southern Sudan. Come on, please.
But that's what happens when you have a principal and the deputy fighting.
People do not realize when people elected, first of all, he said people elected a team. People never elected a team most of the time. People elected the governor, because even the deputy governor's name is not on the ballot.
Let me ask you.
So yes,
you picked your own deputy.
Yes, you actually pick. You can pick anybody.
Okay. When you pick your own deputy,
yes,
then why is the problem?
You pick your own deputy, hoping that it is somebody you can work with. And you pick on deputy because you want him to support you with the work you do. And let me tell you, the role of the deputy governor is very important, because a governor cannot do everything. You need somebody to be watching that area as you watch that area.
So that mean your judgment is poor when you ultimately pick somebody you can't work with?
Yeah. No, Mark Twain said that you can take a dog from the street and feed him and he'll never betray you. The same cannot be said about a human being. People change. When you bring people in, and they get into complexities, especially in the issues of integrity. When people realize that you are on a different agenda, you are not on an agenda of trying to get tenders.
But who changes in this instance, the governor or the deputy governor?
It depends on the situations. I can only speak for myself. Last week I was in Naivasha, and we had a meeting with governors, and actually the issue of deputy governors came up. I'm surprised he's saying 70% are working very well. You should have been in the room and had. I had very few governors are running against the present deputy governors. They are replacing them. Why? And I think it's an issue of Kenyan politics and Kenyan way of life, whereby people, instead of pulling together, always seem to be pulling apart. But another aspect, another big problem that we've seen that people don't like talking about is outside interference. You find that most of the deputy governors are actually injected with poison from outsiders, from other political, masters.
Get an antidote.
Political masters.
Get an antidote.
Yeah. We try to get an antidote, but at times the poison is so much, by the time it takes some time, they have already developed gangrene and septic.
So the only thing that remains is to...
No, you manage the situation. But the reality is this. When a deputy governor deputizes a governor, the law is very clear. The governor assigns you duties to do, and you work with the governor according to those duties. But if you start betraying the governor, here you are, you're the deputy governor, you are 2 years in, you're already saying I'm going to run against the governor, you are criticizing the work of the governor. The team cannot.
We'll come to what constitutes betrayal in a minute. From the panelists, let's just get an overview of what the law says, since Dr. Mutua referred to it, because we have the Constitution and we have the County Government Act. Let's remind ourselves, what is the ideal situation? How do we get the governor and deputy governors, Charles?
Chapter 11 of the Constitution, I think from around Article 180 onwards, is a bit, in my opinion as a layman, vague. It does not spell out clearly the role of a deputy governor. It always talks about who the governor is, and all the qualities of a governor are copy-pasted into what should be of a deputy governor. So in essence, the Constitution, which is a supreme organ as far as law is concerned, says that a deputy governor is a principal assistant of the governor. When the governor is indisposed, he is not available, the deputy governor steps in. It leaves it at that.
So what happens when the governor is not disposed? What is the deputy doing?
The governor still remains the head of the county. Anything that happens within the county happens within the confines.
But what is the deputy doing generally?
The principal assistant of the governor. So it's more like saying the deputy governor operates under the whims of the governor. In my opinion,
it actually goes further than that.
Which he has described very well. But if the law is very clear, but if, like he says, the governor decides to ignore the deputy, so what does the deputy do? And there's nothing he can do.
Good work. I think the principal issue here, and let's just be very clear so that our viewers can also understand what we are talking about. It's about leadership. It's not too much about the power and the law. Like Dr. was saying, Dr. Mutua was saying, the governor has 98% of the power. You know what? The people really don't care that. The people are caring about, listen, we've elected these two people. They came to us with a joint vision. Governor of Machakos, you are wrong. The deputy governor is on the ballot box, right? So you are elected with the same vision. You went and told people how you'll give them water and how you build them schools together, right? Then when you come in, all of a sudden, I have 98% of the power, so you do nothing. I'm the governor, let me work. That's the law, but that's not leadership. Leadership is coming together and saying, listen, we have a team. There's my principal deputy who will help me in my duties. We have a county executive committee, and we have chief officers. All human beings who are qualified in their own right. So you sit down, you plan, you dream, you execute together. The whole thing of I am the governor, I do everything, must go away. And when that happens, you find counties are grinding to a halt. People are not doing work because the governor said, I want to do this. The deputy has pulled in this direction, said, I want to do this. Then the other one is saying, you are corrupt. And the people get very confused, which means now, from your county executive committee going down, nobody wants to work. So they sit down and watch a bull.
When it comes to appointing the executive, is it a teamwork or is it the governor who does it?
The law says it's the governor who appoints the county executive.
So he doesn't
committee.
have to consult?
He does not have to consult.
But the point you're making is that leadership would require consultation.
That's correct. And anywhere, I mean, even here, you have a big boss, but I'm sure you guys sit down and agree how Citizen TV will be run.
So would I be right to say that governors frustrate their deputies in cases where there is no understanding, because you look at these people as potential threats to your throne?
No, not necessarily, not necessarily. You see, when governors were choosing their deputy governors, they were hoping to get people who would help them undertake their work. And what Mr. Mweke is saying is right. I know it sounds flowery and it sounds the right thing. It's about leadership. It's about holding hands together, singing kumbaya, you know, going for keshas, praying for your county and working together. You know, that's a utopian perspective. But the reality is this. You are elected as a governor on your manifesto.
But
you know, unlike
he has reminded you,
yes,
the name of the deputy governor is there.
Yes,
so
yes.
it's not only you.
No, no.
And we got votes from some region because of that deputy.
But you know, one of the things that you have to remember is this: the governor appoints the deputy governor. You actually look at everybody and you
don't
decide.
appoint. You
choose.
Sorry,
you choose the deputy governor as a running mate.
And
you run. Are they on the ballot paper? I don't think they're on the ballot paper. I don't remember they being on the ballot paper.
And there are people who vote because of that deputy governor.
Yes, in some areas. In some areas they do.
Yes.
But you see, the thing is this. The best scenario, and this is the way I would like to see it working in the future, because you see, devolution, this first term, is like a trial and error. You know, people are learning how to work together. People will be smarter with the people they choose. Deputies will understand their roles more, because what happened is that the ideal situation is that you have a deputy, you pull together and you work together. Let me use my example, for example, because it's good to use.
I just want to stop you there before you get into your example, because you know you're contradicting yourself. On the one hand, you're saying 98%, utopian realities, kumbaya, holding hands, and consensus. And I think to anyone listening to you, that disparages the role of deputies, because you have gone out, you have looked through qualified people, and you have presented a vision and asked people, can you work with me? Can you collaborate with me? What is your input into this? And once you're elected, you say, I don't need you anymore.
No,
we won't be doing the cashiers and holding hands.
You understand?
Okay, so clarify that.
What I mean is this. What I would like to see is that holding of hands and moving together. That is the ideal situation where you sit down.
But can you do that when you feel threatened, as
yeah, but you see, what happens is that once you get in, and I don't think, for example, I don't have a power problem. I don't have a problem sharing power, I don't have a problem doing things. But you need to be able to work on the same vision. You need to be able to move in the same political and development program. But if you find that your deputy is working hand in hand with, and it's something that came up that people don't like talking about, there's the law. I think the same section, is it 180?
181.
181.
Yeah, 181.
It talks about the removal of a governor.
But not of the deputy?
Not of the deputy.
The law is silent on that?
But not only that, it should be the same. But you see, when it talks about removal of a governor, it says that in case a governor is removed, a governor can be removed through three things. One, by death, impeachment, or resignation. It says as soon as the governor is removed, the deputy governor takes over for the remaining period of time as a governor. And I think it is that aspect of taking over that got into the heads of some, not all, of the deputy governors. And so you find that most of the governors you talk to will tell you, when you hear of an impeachment, when you hear of issues, when you hear of Kasumbo Kuchini, you find it's your deputy governor working at night with a few MCAs to remove you. It's other people coming to tell the deputy governor, so deputy,
when you say
governor. So I'm just talking about the reality of what happened and what has been occurring. So you find that now the relationship starts becoming problematic. When you hear deputy governors wanting to be governors, all of a sudden they're going to run against the governor. It's a pointer. I always say this: if a deputy governor feels they cannot work with the governor, why hang on?
When you say,
why not say
the same manifesto?
Why not resign and say, I can't work with this man?
I'll meet you at the
I'll meet you next time.
Manifesto, you push the same principles. Yes. Whose is it? Is it the governors or an agreed manifesto between the governor and the
what happened
deputy?
In most cases, unless it was a coalition agreement like Mr. Mweke's, whereby in code ODM presented the governor and the deputy was presented by Wiper. In most of these places, the deputy governors were chosen about a month barely before presentation of papers, because even the nomination among the parties, the deputy governor was not involved. Nominations were done with just
so
the
there was
governor.
no time to understand each other and ensure.
And also they were not involved from the very beginning. So it's after you won the nomination just before you presented your papers to IEBC, that's when you found somebody. By that time, by the time you had nomination, you had your agenda, you had your manifesto, you had everything. So you told somebody, please join me, this is the manifesto, it is ready. So there was no time to actually work through a joint manifesto. So when you get into power, this person comes up with other ideas of how to roll it out, and you tell them, wait a minute, you came in, you found me this manifesto. And I'm saying it is not the ideal situation, but I'm trying to explain what happened, because you need to really,
that's the background.
You really need to look at what happened.
You want to chip in?
Yeah, I just want to chip in a little bit on a few things. First of all, Governor Mutua, you say that all this holding hands and everything is utopia and it's nice, but you know, I like talking about practical things. It happens in Nairobi.
I'm saying it's the ideal thing that should happen in all counties, but unfortunately, it is not happening because of the situation that I've explained.
You mentioned like it's utopia, like it's something that's
not for this world.
Never happen. It's not for this world. It's happening in Nairobi perfectly okay. We're working very close with the governor. We've worked very close with the governor. We implement his manifesto, because he's the governor. You have to admit he's the governor. I understand his vision. We implement his manifesto together. He doesn't say it is mine, so I'll do it myself. No, if you agree with me, come on and we go. So we do that. So it's practical. It can happen in this Kenya, in this world, that our governor and a deputy can work together. It's happening in Nairobi. On the impeachment, again, I said, sometimes you look at leadership and not just law. Yes, the law says if the governor is impeached, the deputy takes over. What is happening now in Nyeri shows a cohesive county government. Where the governor has been impeached, the deputy has come out on record, fact, and says, we work as a team. If the governor is going, I will resign.
Together with the CEC.
Together with the CEC. They have come to say, you know what I mean? To me, that's leadership. While you're saying, yes, I can become the governor, deputy governor of Nyeri has said, no. I'm with the governor, we are working together. If he's not there, I'm not there. Nyinyi mujipange. You know what I mean? So these are practical examples. Another practical example of what Dr. Mutua is talking about, and I agree with you, where you say maybe some governors had wrong judgment when they were picking deputies, is what happens in the United States. It's one of the most stable, if not the only stable democracy, not the most stable democracy in this world, but the president picks his vice president after the nominations, just a few months before the general election. So it's the president's responsibility to understand, this is my vision for this country, so I go and shop and pick somebody who buys into my vision. So if Dr. Mutua, you went a month before and picked somebody who did not buy into your vision, and as soon as you get in, you want to move alone, then I think that's wrong judgment on your part. You should have picked somebody from Machakos who you knew would buy into your vision.
No, and I want to agree, it's as guilty as charged. But it's not just a matter of judgment, it's also a matter of time. It's a matter of time. And it's also experimental, because the reality is this was the first time it's coming in, and even the Bible talks about a wolf in sheep's clothing, and so at times you need more time. And Waswahili walisema shauma na nyoka akiona unyasi anashtuka, once bitten twice shy. But I'm hoping that in the next tranche of the general elections, that governors will be wiser, deputy governors will be wiser, partnerships will be better, and people will be better served. But what we're talking about now is the reality on the ground, and you can't ignore it. You can sugarcoat it, but you can't ignore it.
Okay.
That's what it is.
This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV, and we're discussing the roles of governors and deputies. How do we address the tensions between the two? Tell us what you think on Twitter. Our hashtag is Cheche.